Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the 2015 World Championship Group Stage, where China's LGD is setting up to take on the European LCS's Origin. Now, LGD, this is a team that, when we look at them on paper, have incredibly strong lanes across the board. But in this matchup specifically, where do we see the largest mismatch?
The first thing that comes to mind, like when I viewed Origin as a coach during the EU regular split, was always like the weakness I saw was Xpeke. He plays only very few champions and has a very weak champion pool generally.
Yeah, and this summer split was not kind to him as well. And Xpeke is up against Godvi here, who plays assassins against his control mages. So I feel like Godvi has that large edge over him. But if we look at the history of international play for European mid laners, they've never come to a tournament and been just shut out by Eastern mid laners ever. They always seem to show up. So if the plot armor comes in for Xpeke, that's going to give him that edge here
Maybe
today.
It's about time.
It always seems to come in, though, and that's the thing, is European mid laners always perform on the international stage.
I mean, I do remember Fnatic's performance against, SK Telecom in the All-Stars competition in 2014, where Fnatic bombed out very quickly. But for pretty much every other time, you're right. And in fact, Xpeke has had some of his biggest highlights. You know, one of my favorite moments from Worlds last year was his duel against Dade. That Talon versus Zed was absolutely incredible.
All right, but then if we move outside of the mid lane, we pop up to the top lane. We have Acorn versus Soaz. Thoughts on that one, Monty?
Well, you know, I've loved watching Soaz in the ULCS, and I think on an individual level, we can talk about Soaz and say that his gangplank is obviously exceptional, and he's a smart and very large champion pool player. That said, Acorn is a team player. He always has been. Acorn, when he was on Samsung Blue, helped to really innovate the lane swap meta that we see today. That was one of the biggest contributions of Samsung Blue and why they were so dominant in 2014. And he continues to be that kind of team player. His teleport game is absolutely on point. Soaz puts up great stats, but in the mid game, he can tend to wander off and die. Rarely happens with Acorn.
Well, he's definitely at home here in France. You know, I have to go to the bot lane here because I think a lot of people, myself included, are very curious about watching Niels, you know, a rookie, first Worlds tournament, going up against Imp, reigning world champion here in the bot lane, Yamato.
It's like, obviously, it's favored in Imp's. Like, it's super obvious that Imp is the favorite AD in this. But, like, when I think of Niels, like, I know him as a person. I've had the opportunity to play with him as well back in Season 3, but it doesn't really faze him that he's a rookie or not. I don't think that matters at all. He has that kind of I don't give a damn attitude, and I like that about him.
Well, you definitely have to step on stage with that kind of attitude when you are going up against the reigning world champ and a guy who's been very vocal about making sure he wants to see his opponents cry at some point.
I love Imp is just the villain of League of Legends.
It's fabulous.
I absolutely adore him.
And he
for that
owns
reason.
that role
He
fabulously.
always does.
Yeah, Imp is definitely, in my opinion, probably the second strongest player here at Worlds. And he's going up against this rookie. So Niels has his work cut out for him. But I want to look at a little bit of a closer matchup here, which is TBQ versus Amazing. I think this is the closest matchup here. But TBQ, he gets a lot of flack for being the weakest member on his roster. But look at his roster. Look at his roster. And TBQ had an amazing finals up against EDG. He was a big part of why they won. So even though this is the closest matchup, it is still a rather lopsided matchup.
Well, and anytime we get Lee Sin back in the meta, that's a buff for TBQ, too. It's traditionally been his best champion. So will that be a ban here? I'm very curious because I think you kind of have to target TBQ if you're going to play against LGD, because the other players have such large champion pools that it's very difficult to handle them, but maybe you can get an edge over their jungler.
Yeah. All right, well, before we throw it over to our casters, we're going to go down the line, get your predictions here, starting with you, Zyrene.
I got to go LGD on this one. I feel like they're definitely favorites here. Even though LGD has been having some coaching issues, I feel like just individual talent across the board is going to bring them out today.
Yeah, and that's the thing with LGD. These are guys, a team that definitely could win this entire tournament. I think Origin and LGD will be a bloodbath in the early game, but I think LGD will come out on top just through better control of the map later on.
And finally?
Like, I feel the teams are very similar, but LGD is just a better version of what Origin is. They kind of rely on that raw talent to carry them through games, and I feel like LGD obviously has the better talent in this matchup.
All right, well, there you have it. A very Uniform desk once again, day 2. Though I can't argue. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's actually Origin. So that's all I've got for you.
Right.
Now, yeah, exactly. As we head over to the casters for a look at the lineups, Expecte says Origin doesn't have the pressure that some of the older and more established teams face.
We are a new team. We have a lot of experience and everything, but at the same time, it's really good that we don't put that pressure on ourselves, because that's the worst you can do. Normally, teams don't really mind much of pressure from outside. Like, it's yourself in the end.
Well, his first game's going to be up against one of the favorites at Worlds, all the same, though, as Expecte is going to be taking on LGD here. But, guys, we get ourselves into the game. Let's check out the starting lineups. We're going to start with the LGD Gaming here. Up in the top lane, they've got Acorn. In the jungle is TBQ. In the mid lane, Godv, an amazing, amazing mid laner. Imp on AD carry, believed to be the best in the world. And PYL, the support, the player that so many come to play with. PYL, an incredibly famous support over in China, an emotional leader for that team.
And of course, on the side, for Europe, we have Origin. Swords up in the top lane, we have Amazing in the jungle, Expecte in the mid lane. He's gonna have quite a tough day. Nils as the AD carry. Mithy as the support, and the new head coach, Hermit, former analyst for the team.
He kind of looks like the mighty Thor, doesn't he?
I'm sure he has something prepared. He's a very smart guy. I think what he's done for this team, especially leading into playoffs when he started, being on side with Origin in Europe, the pick and ban phase really improved for them going into the playoffs with, of course, Fnatic in the end. Not managed to beat them, but they took them to 5 games. That was a big deal for Origin. LGD, though, is a whole new monster.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, they are so strong right now in China. A lot of people picking them as possibly a contesting team to China's EDG, which all year we really didn't see. It was kind of EDG on top, and now at the very end, here comes LGD providing this big threat as well.
And the funny thing is, LGD was always a sleeper, is the weird thing. Before all the Koreans came over, they were the next team in line to go to Worlds last year behind Starhorn, Royal Club, ONG, and Edward Gaming. Now here, they got second place in the spring split, and that went to 5 games, by the way. They were nearly the team that went to MSI and faced all those teams. LGD then crushed the summer split playoffs. This is the team that's always been right on the cusp. Here they are now. They're first showing up at Worlds. Of course, their roster, definitely an incredible talent pool on it.
Yeah, I think it's the most stacked roster we have here at Worlds. Really, if you look at it, Imp, a lot of people will say he's the best AD carry in the world. I think we can agree on it. Godv in the mid lane, obviously you won't put him above Faker, but he's very, very, very close to him, together with Rookie as well. Acorn is one of these guys who always do well, even though you don't call him the big superstar up there. The team player, and he also does a lot of the pick and ban talk with the team. Very smart guy. Obviously PYL, my favorite support in the world, probably. But TBQ, you can argue, how good of a jungler is he? He's doing what's needed. And that's the key thing for him.
You know, the big player that jumps out for me on LGD is actually Godv, and that's because in the Korean scene, where I cast, you don't often hear about the Korean players talking about a player from another region that they really need to learn how to play from and be like him. But Godv, especially that Diana, has been an inspiration for Korean mid laners, and I know a lot of these guys look up to him.
Yeah, Godv is absolutely incredible, and actually speaking of him real quick, we do have to delay the game briefly. We had a mouse issue for him. They're actually going to swap his computer out, so...
I blame you completely, though, for
Yeah, this is all on me. I sabotaged the computer. I wanted so badly for the Europeans to win that I sabotaged the red side computers. I think it was that Bjergsen played so well, because TSM's the best team in the world, that the computer overheated from his APM, and so that computer's now, on the fritz.
That mouse right
You really want it to be like TSM free. Yeah, that's all you're aiming for.
It's like you see these mouse warranties, it's like good for 64 million clicks, and Bjergsen's like, I need 3 for this game. Sorry.
Anyway, though, with these two teams, Origin, what can Origin bring to the table? Mithy and Amazing. The jungle support synergy we often talk about is top-notch for Origin. It's what they really rely on in the early game to kind of get Source rolling, to get Nils rolling as well. Both the side lanes are big carries. It's Expecte in the mid lane, who's more the passive guy. They don't play around him at all. All he has to do in this game, I say all he has to do, is stay even with Godv and then look for Origin to play around side lanes.
So the thing is, Peke is never going to go equal to Godv. Not even talking about the skill sets here, but Godv has the highest gold share of any player in the LPL. Even though there's this great AD carry on his team with Imp, Godv gets so much resources. It's because he's getting kills, he's getting a lot of farm, he's doing so much, but he is the richest member on any team ever. So this is a guy who's going to get a ton of resources. Peke is used to being left alone, and the thing is, there's not that many hyper-aggressive mid lanes. Think about the big mid laners that he has to contend with over in Europe, like Peke, Febivin. Also gets no gank. So the difference in style that Peke suddenly has to deal with here could be very jarring.
A very, very different style, but for LGD as well, while they have all these insane players on the lineup, it's not just like we see LGD always just stomp the early game and just like snowball completely out of control. Often, you know, it can go a little bit back and forth, but they are a very smart team. And when they get to the mid to late game, they always get praised so much for how they control the side lanes with the minions, how they always manage to have these big waves pushing before they go for any objectives. So even if they make a mistake and lose a fight, the other team can't really get anything from it because they have to then push the minions all the way back towards LGD, and then there's time for them to respawn. And that's always been a big problem for other teams in the LPL. Origen like to play on all three lanes as well with these side lanes pushing, but then they always group together and team fight. So they got to be able to match what LGD is doing.
And the thing is, you talked about the waves getting pushed out so that if you lose a team fight, things don't go poorly. We actually saw that at play just last game, TSM, when they lost their very first team fight, 2 turrets went down in the mid lane. So there was certainly, you can see the evidence there today of what that wave pushing can mean for your team, because you get to keep that buffer up there. Now, guys, our delay is going to be a little bit longer, so as we work out the issues on the stage, I'm going to send it over to the guys in the analyst desk to talk about this match a little bit more.
Thank you, Freak. I have to say, I love just this side right here, this shot here, the French crowd, you know, showing their support for Soaz and the rest of the team. Yeah, yes, exactly. That's fabulous. But I do want to continue the conversation they were having, which was about LGD's side wave control.
Yeah, I think they actually have the best side wave control out of any team in this tournament at the moment. The way that they manipulate the waves before they end up going for a team fight or an objective, and the preparation that they put into it, just like Deficio was saying, if they lose the fight, they still have waves pushing and you can't capitalize as much as you would like to. So that's a huge strength of LGD, despite the fact that I did bring up coaching things before where they've been back and forth with coaches. They've been trying to figure that situation out. But that has always held true, that part of their macro play has shown through.
Yeah, and a lot of that's been credited to PYL's shot calling also. So you're playing an important role within this LGD team. But they put together a team that really does know how to do that, because that was always one of Samsung Blue's strengths as well. So, you know, bringing in a guy like Acorn, who is one of the side laners, is a massive boon.
Like, I wouldn't go as far as saying they are the best in the tournament.
Who would you say?
Sideways. I would say SKT is the best, simply because of their consistent play style. I think LGD at their best could compete with SKT and D2G, but I feel the inconsistency is the problem for me when I think of LGD.
All right, well, since you pinpoint, or you're claiming there's some inconsistency there, I want to delve into, since we spent so much time in the pre-gaming, setting up this Cinderella story for Origen. How is Origen going to find a win in this matchup?
Plot armor.
This is not helpful, Simon. We have a few minutes as they swap out the remainder of the PC. So let's dive into this.
What LGD likes to do sometimes is lane swap to hide TBQ in the early mid game to make sure that he doesn't get picked on. If they're able to actually call the lane swap, match them 2-on-2, but it's still Imp and PYL, right? These are still guys that Niels and Mythy have to go up against and try to break through. But that's how you do it, is you get their jungler off of his groove.
So when you say target TBQ, are you talking specifically counter jungling? Is this ganking heavily and forcing him to show into lanes? How are they specifically picking on him?
So you make it so that TBQ, he is, of course, the weakest player of the roster. We've already gone over that. But what you do is you push him onto champions, not like Lee Sin, but you also make it so that you counter gank him, you put wards in his jungle, it's easy to keep track of him, and you make sure that you're able to pick on him and just put pressure on him so he's not applying pressure on the map, because that allows your laners to thrive, that allows you to continue to push up. I feel like just overall, you do standard counter jungling things against him, and then you see the weaknesses of TBQ.
And I've really liked watching Amazing this last season, too. As the jungler for Origen, I think he's been a huge playmaking force in the early game, and that could hold true here. If Amazing can come in with a big game, maybe they can slow him down. If they can win some of these skirmishes that TBQ is a part of, that is a big point also.
Yeah, and of course, this is not saying that we think Origen's going to win, right? We're still reaching for the
that's right. Yeah, I want to push for these scenarios.
The fantasy desk hour right now.
Something that I would like to highlight is that we've seen the tendency that blue side is usually the team that gets the stronger jungler simply because of Elise. I feel like if you're red side, you don't really have the room to ban out champions like Lee Sin. So it's very interesting that we'll see these matchups twice this tournament.
Another thing I want to touch on, we're going back in history a little bit. Xpeke's time on Fnatic, they were a team that was relatively comfortable with the double TP. We have talked about the possibility of double TP playing a role in this tournament. Haven't seen too many examples of it yet, but is that a way that they can open this game against LGD?
I don't think so. I think LGD is very, very good at using double TP. Godvy's the player that sort of brought Diana into the current meta. It really rippled out from his usage around the world to see this TP Diana play. And frankly, I haven't been that impressed by Xpeke's use of global abilities. So I would say that double TP is something that you want to avoid if you're trying to be Origin and win this match, because LGD will just pile into that bottom lane and kill your duo.
I still feel like you take the TP, though, on the mid lane. I feel like you just take it because it's going to help you get back to lane. It's going to cover some of your weaknesses. Then you can follow them down to the bot lane. If you don't take it in champions,
I want to defer to Yamato on this one.
Zareen, my friend, when you pick TP, people need to understand what you give up. That extra summoner loses so much pressure in very, a lot of matchups that are going to come into Worlds. That's why we haven't seen that much
You lose a lot of pressure. Are you implying that he's going to kill him?
Hold up. I want to hear the rest of this first.
Something that we saw Xpeke running TP against Ryu, against his Orianna. He went TP Ari, and he got completely demolished in a way that he got pushed into the tower where he was not allowed to use TP a single time until 30 minutes into the game, when they completely just won the game at that point. So that is very important to keep in mind.
So now it's been a better spell.
Like Ignite, then he has pressure in lane because you lose so much kill pressure. Cleanse has also been very important in this tournament so far.
I don't think he'd ever would have had an opportunity to actually use Ignite and kill him.
It's not about killing.
I don't want to get too in the weeds here. Now we're starting to jump down a rabbit hole. Again, let's we're gonna return to the notion that this is a game that has yet to be played out, right? And so as of now, again, you see the Godv signs in the crowd, LGD fans out there, as well as the Origin fans, the European LCS fans. So there's definite fan representation on both sides. But when we talk about a game that hasn't been played out yet, and especially when we look at something where we set it up to be such a lopsided match, the thing that I find most intriguing is looking for the holes that the underrated team can poke into the more skilled team. Also too, I'm curious as to what you guys are most looking forward to figuring out with these teams, as we haven't seen them yet for a month, if anything.
It's like I kind of hope that Origin will take the approach that they will just do everything it takes to make sure they have stronger matchups. If they have stronger matchups, I can feel the responsibility for them to win the early game and transition that into something. Because usually if Origin loses the early game, it kind of just falls apart in most cases that Origin plays.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Origin has improved a lot in terms of their macro play, which I think was a big weakness of theirs earlier in the season. And they came back and they demonstrated that they could hold the map a little better, especially in the finals of the summer season. But I'm still not confident that in a late game scenario, all things being equal, they could go toe-to-toe with LGD.
Yeah.
All right, well, we have approximately 3 more minutes until the tech issue is resolved. So another thing that I'm curious about with you, Monty, is, and actually all the rest of you, because I think most people on the desk are in agreement that SKT might be considered the favorite for the tournament. And we talk about LGD being able to compete but not win. What could they do in this match to show you that they have improved to the level of competing on fair ground with SKT?
Nothing.
Yeah.
That's an unacceptable answer, because there has to be something that they can show you.
Tell you why.
Flawless game, no kills, no turrets given up, no barons, and absolutely crushed them.
So then we've at least established that there is something that you can give them.
Turn their opponents into SKT, slow, and then press them. That would be convincing.
I really want to press you on this, because I refuse to believe that in a game there is not a single thing that a team can work on or can showcase that could later play a factor into winning this entire tournament.
It's like, I can elaborate why I said nothing. It was kind of plain, but it kind of depends on how good Origin is playing. If they are put up a good show, it kind of puts LGD to the test, and we can make some judgments based off of it. But if Origin is going to have like a weak performance, we cannot really take anything away from it.
Yeah. Right, but you said inconsistencies. When you talk about inconsistency for LGD, where do their inconsistencies lie? If you can establish where they lie, I want to know how they fix them, and what in this game could they do to show that they've been fixed?
Ooh. It's tough. Because like in the games that LGD loses, they just kind of, it just looks so underwhelming. It's kind of hard to pinpoint why things go wrong. Sometimes draft mistakes, but it just looks underwhelming. It's like saying they have a bad day, and it kind of feels weird to say that, like from an analytical point of view. But I cannot really add more to it.
I think it's when you can control their teleport usage. It's like going back to the what Yamato was talking about. If you have a more aggressive summoner and you can decisively win that mid lane, you can shut down their ability to play the globals on the map and skirmish. So I think that's going to be a big key. But I agree with Yamato if we say nothing, because Xpeke, I don't think is going to be able to do that. You have to have a strong mid laner to try and control Godvi and tie up his time so he doesn't just show up in random places. The other thing about LGD is what I don't like about them is sometimes their Baron calls. Sometimes they take too big of a risk going onto the Baron, and then they can lose team fights around that objective. They're a little bit too hot-headed when it comes to taking that Baron in some of the games that they lose.
I think they also get pretty arrogant too, especially Imp. I feel like Imp is super susceptible to getting too much hubris, walking forward, and getting caught out and dying. That's the one thing that I would be like, you know what, if they reel that in, then I'd say that that's a step forward for LGD.
All right, so we've identified a few things. Origin can work on containment of LGD as well as their own explosiveness in the early game. I kind of want to expand our conversation now away from this match specifically and start looking at trends that have come up. We've talked earlier in the day about pick ban, and you've spoken, quite a bit about the importance of the blue side and how much control they have given this meta. I just kind of want to take the time to elaborate on which champions we see having the biggest impact and why.
Well, it's obviously the first thing that comes to mind is the Elise. Elise just gives so much pressure in the early game, and there's not any jungler in the game that can really contest that, and it's just so important for the top lane.
I'm going to interrupt you because the technical issue was just fixed, so the teams are ready to head into Champ Select. We're going to send it right back over to our casters for the call.
Thank you very much, Dash. We are back here, and we are ready to go into only our second game of the night, actually. Game one went pretty fast. Game two, Teke just started out there. But as the analyst talked about, of course, a very difficult situation here for Origin coming up against the #1 team coming out of China. LGD waiting so long to get to Worlds here with the stacked lineup of skills players.
I want to talk a little bit about pick and ban phase now that we're about to get into it. They were talking about Elise coming up. I could see Origin try and bait Elise first pick for TPQ and take like a Rek'Sai pick or a Lee Sin pick for Amazing and try and match him in the early game, and then also get a very strong dual lane for Mithy and Nils down the bottom, because I think those two guys can make plays and they can use that in the early game very well. We're going to have to see. LGD for now is banning away one of the top tier picks in the Gangplank, so Origin can just remove the Lulu and then go for a third option as well.
The Lee Sin the second though for Origin.
Yeah, so these are just these teams doing their standard research, though. Yeah, the Lee Sin, but these are teams doing the standard research into these teams. They know Soaz is an amazing Gangplank player overall, not wanting to risk first picking it. The Varus, we saw Peke win a game with it in the finals, then immediately get banned every single time by Fnatic afterwards. Right. So, again, just standard prep work actually paying off here.
I don't think, though, you should ban the Gangplank on blue side. I think you can always first pick it. It's a safe matchup in every single lane, unless you specifically want something for your own
bad matchups.
Because this is now allowed. Okay, there are a few counter matchups, but we haven't seen them in action. So far in competitive play, Gangplank has done well in basically everything, and he's been considered a very safe flex pick. However, it means for Origin, they could ban away the Lee Sin, they can take away Lulu now, and then the normal first pick would be the Elise come in for them, but that would leave Kalista open, which has been such a key pick for Nils. They're going to give him
Lulu and Elise up, so Origin saying, hey, at least we'll get one of these two.
Yeah, and again, keep harping on Kalista just for Nils, because we know how much he likes to play it and how key it can be for Origin to have that winning matchup one way and also get a last pick for Source maybe up top against Acorn.
I don't know if Kalista is actually that high priority anymore. I know she's gotten a couple of bans here, but she's been unpicked a lot as well. After the 5/16 nerfs, I wouldn't ever first pick Kalista in a game here. Lulu, I think the obvious choice.
Oh yeah,
there
not
comes
first
through.
pick, not first
but
pick.
even as like the first round red side either, like personal opinion, I don't think it's all that good. We'll see which teams do care, but a lot of teams let it go completely. But as you mentioned, there's the hover, there's the lock-in.
I think, yeah, so you have a good point, how a lot of teams do not value Kalista that highly anymore. Origin is one of those teams, though, whenever Kalista was open, Nils would just go for it. And in Europe in general, whenever it was open, teams would very often quick it super early. Now, of course, been a few nerfs here and there.
That's the thing, is we haven't seen it since 5.14, so even with those nerfs, he's still really happy to grab it early.
Yeah, talk very highly of it at least. You can still even do the combo with Thresh for Mithy, one of his main picks, unless he wants a Braum. So LGD either has to pick the Thresh away if they want to avoid the 2v2 lane. But they can go full Juggermore here with the Lulu first pick. I really think Origin should not have left Lulu open and just let him first pick an Elise instead and go like Rek'Sai into it.
And they got the Braum as well. I mean, of course, you have to be afraid of Imp's Kog'Maw, or Imp's Kalista as well. Of course, he's very good at the champion all the same, but yeah, if we're just looking at tallying up power picks, LGD looks so strong with their first 3.
I mean, Gragas is still available too.
Yep.
They could pair that along, you know, with the...
Origin needs a Thresh so they can dominate the 2v2 lane. I can go Alistar as well, and you have that insane dive combo of like Fate's Call, Alistar, and of course an Elise who can take care of basically everyone on the turret. But they need to win the laning phase here to make sure that Imp doesn't just farm up to be a late game monster. Kennen would work as well in the support role. You just need something that can bully, and then you aim for that 2v2 lane if you are Origin.
Kennen Kalista, man, this is a matchup we don't see all that often, but when it comes out, it's certainly a delight here. Mostly known for his laning phase there. And we're going to take a little bit more time. All right, safe mid laner comes in, and it's going to be Annie support after all.
Yeah, so Origin is basically adapting to the Juggernaut being built and saying, you know what, we wanted to run like Kennen and just try and go completely crazy in lane. Annie also works okay, not as strong as the Kennen, but she offers the hard engage you of course need, otherwise you're never going to reach that back line. I like the pick here for Pekka as well in the mid, just as a safe pick. Mentioned very quickly how getting Source a counter pick could be very key in this matchup, so you can have a winning bottom lane and then a winning top lane for Origin, and therefore try and get that early lead. So safe mid lane pick for him. He's most likely expecting it to be into the Lulu, which is a good matchup for Orianna as well.
He can't even expect that. Acorn's second most played champion was Lulu this split, so even though we see PYL hovering a couple of top laners, you saw that click on Syndra briefly as well. LGD gets to decide who's going to actually face Orianna. Will it be Lulu or anything else we want to do? The Hecarim actually the very most played by the champion, or by Acorn up there. And
for TBQ as well, looks like they might lock in that Vi actually. A lot of popular junglers banned up or taken. The Vi would certainly be good at getting in on the Kalista. They're going to lock that in with Malphite. So it was Juggernaut. Now it's kind of like a weird hybrid of like a little bit of protection with some really hard engage.
It's a bunch of hard engage with Kog'Maw in the backlines. It looks exactly like how KT Rolster won their last game. Alistar goes in, starts all the fights, and you can't possibly get to the AD carry in the backline because everyone's already stunned and dying. So LGD with a very aggressive composition. I mean, this fits their play style, picking on people all the time. Vi and Malphite can start fights whenever they want.
Knockups for days on that team.
And that's what Lulu, again, offers your team, because suddenly you can make your AD carry so insanely fast that he can also play super aggressive in the front line with this hard engage. Vladimir is a counter matchup into the Malphite up in the top lane. Another option could be Fiora, who does well in the early game at least, but that would really require Origin to start snowballing from there. Vladimir gives the more late game scaling with the Orianna. A lot of AP coming in, though only Kalista is providing the physical damage.
I actually like the idea of having composition that can absorb the engage and then sustain through the rest of it. They've got some shields from this Orianna in the mid lane. They've got the Vladimir to tank things up. I do think this quick style switch there for Origin to have a more absorbing backline may work out, but it does leave the Annie kind of by herself.
Yeah, and LGD is going to be very happy to lane swap in this game here. Get the Vladimir in a lane swap where traditionally in the early levels he doesn't do a whole lot. It can be fairly difficult for him to farm.
Yeah.
And then also avoid this Kalista lane that can be such a pain to play against, because it's very clear what Origin has been doing here. They want winning matchups on the side lanes. We talked about it earlier. Pekka sits and farm in the mid lane. He won't do anything else, and then you win the rest of the map Origin. So they had the last pick for Soas, early pick of Kalista. LGD should look just to lane swap in this one here and try and at least avoid Origin just getting these fantastic lanes from level 1.
Yeah, I mean, every single one of those matchups just feels so good to lane swap against there. So LGD definitely looking for mismatched lanes, and we'll see how the level 1s play out and how the lane swaps play out. Curiously, as much as you say matchup-wise and you know, in an agnostic game, a lane swap would be better for LGD, every single time we keep seeing the Western teams are still playing the lane swap games better. I mean, every single time they're getting the first turret, they're getting more farm, and they're getting the setup afterwards to go well. It's the late game decision making that's getting these Eastern teams to do better. That's one thing I'm going to watch for in this one. Either way, guys, you at home, let us know what's going on. As we hit the Rift, tweet at LoL Esports. Tell us who you think is going to win this one. Hashtag LGD win, hashtag OG win. We'll check back in during the game, but let us know who's going to be the last team to start 1-0 as we finish up our Group D games for the day, and then we start going into the repeats after this one. But starting your group stage off right is the way to do it. Getting ourselves into our second game of the day.
Yeah, it is time, guys. This is what a lot of people have been waiting for. LGD taking on Origin, and it is just about time to move on to Summoner's Rift. In fact, it is time. And we will see if the European powerhouse, the second-place team out of EU, can take on an extremely strong Chinese team. A team that a lot of people think of as a counterpoint to EDG. Let's see if they can handle it. Here we go.
Yeah, we talked about how KT, despite being the 3rd seed from Korea, were the second best team. It's the same for Origin. They had to go through the regionals. Didn't have enough points, obviously, which is what H2K qualified on as the second team. But Origin is regarded as the second best team in Europe, and they have to show it here. They have some good lane matchups.
They've got the Mecha Malphite skin, too, for LG. It's a big cause of concern for Origin, in my opinion.
The Mecha Malphite. What about that terrible early skin we had for him, where he's just green and nothing else?
Yeah,
he has no
Shamrock
nose.
Malphite is
great. No nose.
I mean, that's his mouth is like his face in the middle of his chest, basically. He's not really supposed to be that humanoid.
Maybe he's got other scent organs, you know? I mean,
obviously, no offense to whoever made that skin. It is a classic.
Absolutely, man.
Sure.
If we ever play in Ireland, is the only one you're allowed to play.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep,
Wow.
it's actually locked. You're not allowed to use
True
champion
facts
select.
from Freak.
Yep,
From Freak here.
that's how it works.
Huh.
Irish summoners, you can tweet and let us know it's true.
Completely true. Indisputable facts from Freak. Facts with Freak.
So,
Prove me wrong right now.
Where's the video series coming?
one thing we see in this game here, we
Maybe
have
we don't want to hear those.
some early vision down, obviously from Origin on the side. And also notice the one ward they put here on their own red buff. It's very important because they're expecting LGD to start out there. At least they want to see if they do. And therefore, they're going to spot 2 members moving in. So they get some extra information, and we'll steal away a camp on the bottom side. So it is the expected lane swap.
But also some interesting choices. You're seeing Imp being left alone on the top lane. He's going to essentially build a freeze by himself as LGD goes for a late invade. Meanwhile, similar for Soaz, he's hiding up the top side and wants to actually scrounge up a little bit of golden experience, and he'll be able to do so. That ward you mentioned does, in fact, spot the LGD invade. Origin is aware of that push. And actually, no, Imp is going to fast push it. And this makes it difficult for Soaz because he can get dived.
So what Imp does very, very often is he will fast push the first wave. And I don't mean like just wait to last it. I mean literally start hitting the minions instantly. Mythy was looking at the mid lane. God Vito moves to his strong side of the map. But what Imp does, he will instantly fast push because he wants to bounce it into the tower as quickly as possible to get some early experience for himself and then freeze it there after he gets the bounce. Obviously, he's going to share experience early on with PYL. They might look to just dive onto Source because he's sitting on the tower. He's going to be intercepted between the 2 turrets as well if they move straight in from LGD.
Yeah, TVQ looking to come in from the side with the Acorn to provide some pressure. Soaz, though, wise to the ways of the top and jungle from LGD, and at least he's going to be able to stay safe for now.
Now he's still trying to mess with TVQ and Acorn a little bit. Gets slowed. Still wants to try to steal the big one.
Takes a careful, man. Soaz takes a lot of damage
to the face.
Oh, has to burn that flash. He could have just stayed out.
Yeah, that's such a Soaz move. I just want to see what happens if I step a little bit closer.
Gotta get the Krug, man.
Yeah, maybe I can steal it away, but it's such a risky play. No flash for him. LGD get to push their wave in. It resets, and Soaz has not been double jungling because he was sitting in the top lane. I'm not sure if he was expecting a freeze to happen from the start, and therefore he could try and absorb some experience.
I think he was.
Because right now, he's just really far behind. He's calling for Mythy to come help him.
Well, that's the only reason you do this, if you expect the rest of LGD to start somewhere else on the map, and for Imp to freeze, that didn't happen, and so Soaz's bluff got called. He's going to walk into this top lane alongside Mythy, and thankfully for him, TVQ isn't exactly close by, so maybe they can keep this lane afloat.
But they don't know that. Right now, LGD is keeping Acorn and TPQ out of vision. They're just hiding in their own jungle. You have no clue. You can see how concerned Origin was moving. They had to wait for Amazing to come as well to be 3 guys. And now they suddenly moved through, because in case they were waiting in the bush where the pink ward is from Origin now, they would just have jumped on Soaz, jumped on Mythy, forced them off again, and then Soaz would have been sitting on 0 CS by now. So what LGD likes to do is always, again, play in the shadows. Sit out of vision. You don't know where we are. We could be farming, or we could be sitting here. Do you roll the dice and just move in? Might cost you the game.
Apparently.
Well, sometimes, yeah. This time he didn't. The second time around.
He at least has a little bit less shadows to deal with. He just got trinket wards from both Mithy and Amazing, the tri-brush and the front by the Raptors there, so he knows no dive is coming. Now he sees the Vide here, but Mithy able to be defensive.
And I want to see now just Akon get down to this bottom side as quickly as possible. The reason he doesn't teleport down is because he doesn't know where Amazing is before now. Now he spots him here. In case he TP'd down and used the summoner, and then he started trying to shove the wave out, you see it's being frozen by Niels, then Amazing could have sat there and just ganked him instantly. There would be no TP, and you would be super far behind as the Malphite. So it's safer to walk, but Niels has a massive experience advantage down there. Not even massive, I'm lying to you guys. It's only one level. It is a big deal in the early game, but it shouldn't be enough to completely deny Akon by now. He's going to at least sit and just get some experience.
He's even going to get free gold and a tad of experience as well from this top lane turret going down. LGD actually, in my opinion, winning out in this lane swap, and the Imp's still getting all the farm he wants, but they're getting a turret kill as well, so as absorbing experience. But Acorn is double jungling, they're both level 3.
So they're winning step 1. Sorry to interrupt you here, Dora, because look here what Amazing is doing now. We just talked about how this wave was pushed up towards Niels, opening up for Amazing to be there. This is again why Akon didn't use the teleport at first. He can still get punished a second time, so it's all about denying him. Amazing is moving in now.
Coming from behind, Acorn recalling though.
He knows it's too risky. I cannot show myself. My entire team just showed on the top side of the map.
Oh, no Malphite.
So right here, we see what Someday did so well in the last game. Reading, okay, if I show myself, will I get ganked? Is there a chance? Okay, I'm not going to show myself. Exactly the same move here from Akon, and therefore he stays alive and still has both summoners.
Absolutely great play by him. You can see exactly what it means to be so on top of your game. It's not flashy to have 0 deaths, but that was an incredibly intelligent play to make sure he got away in time. The recall before release would show.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, we saw, it's very similar to last game, really, where we see top laners really, really pressured, and we saw such differences between Someday and Dyrus in terms of who played safe and who died.
And now, as we saw, LGD won the first phase of the lane swap by taking down that tower. Problem is, as soon as the tower died, Source picked up a lot of farm for himself, and now the second thing starts in this swap. When Niels managed to sit in a lane for himself, he has an experience advantage. He got a decent back timing off, and now he has to start bullying this lane where he's ahead of him already in experience. And then he needs to push that wave into the tier 1 tower of LGD, and that's where Origin can pull the trick of TPs and Amazing coming down and like 4v2 dive them. That is the next step. A lane swap is more than just the first tower dying. It's the following 5-6 minutes as well, and what happens from there.
Well, there's still a pink ward up aggressively in the tri-brush down on the bottom side, so a return path by Amazing can certainly happen. You see Imp and PYL, pretty heads-up play. They push the wave in, then take Scuttle. Yep. Really very smart things by them. Overall, LGD sitting up 400 gold. Amazing has been power farming this whole time. He wasn't defending any turrets. He wasn't even double jungling, so he's level 5.5, getting his red buff here up against TBQ.
Oh, POL and Imp smash a scary face coming at him when they come back into lane, but more farming, and we didn't really get to see a 2v2 at all last game.
We will get it this time.
Now from Imp and PYL, yeah, but Niels and Mithy, they're going to struggle a little bit. I mean, this is a terrifying bot lane that they're playing against.
Yeah, Mithy had a bit of a poor timing here for himself. He had to go back and get a few wards, so he couldn't stay in lane with Niels and start pushing it out. But we have level 6 now on the Kalista. So again, there's an advantage. It has to be used from Origin. The other one, as we highlighted before, with Source being a bit greedy and staying in lane up there, he did manage to get up quite some experience. And because Amazing went down to the bottom lane with the frozen wave from Niels, Akon didn't get any farmer experience, so he is behind.
On to Mithy, trying to build up that passive for the stun. Mithy just backs off, though. Doesn't go as badly as it could have. You got to wonder what's going to happen a little bit later in the game with Kalista throwing Annie into the fight. Do you do that? Or do you just let Annie engage by herself and then pull her out?
Pull out.
Yeah, you let her flash in. It's way too telegraphed otherwise.
Boring.
Hey, man.
Throw her right in there,
You can still be bloodthirsty by going into the flash tippers, okay?
Think about the range. Throw her in,
5-man tippers, and then you take her and you throw her into the 5-man tippers as well. Is that what you want to see?
Yeah, absolutely.
Double CC. That's how you do it.
Time to show it, Mithy.
And the thing is, actually, Origin playing their bottom lane pretty well, though. You can see Imp and PYL can't really deal meaningful damage because Mithy can always get pulled out of the all-in.
Teleport coming in for LGD. They really want this blue buff. Shockwave brings TBQ in, and the blue buff actually goes over to Expeke. Grabbed it. Meanwhile, LGD using that teleport to put a lot of pressure on the bottom. Flash out from Acorn does not connect. They still want the turret, but That's a lot used for not a lot of kills.
Very
0.
smart move, though, from Nils. Notice how far back he was standing already, knowing, okay, Mithy, in case anything happens, I can pull you in, and then we can just flash out. And they're going for TBQ.
Hello, TBQ taking a lot of damage. Timbers dropping TBQ over the wall, tries to get away with that ball breaker. Peke comes from the side. With the command attack, that's first blood for Peke, Acorn, and PYL on the run right now. Imp there to try to support, and that'll be the end of the chase, but first blood goes to Origin.
And it gave a ton of time for Soaz to farm up in the top lane, 51 CS, no teleport on Acorn, complete map control, and Soaz can even equalize the turret score from all of this. So the TP from Acorn horribly backfires, and Origin completely collapsed correctly.
Isn't gonna find a Lulu all by herself right now.
Oh, Godby in a little bit of trouble. Ults himself, has to burn that flash as well. Peke with the command protect. Command attack onto Godby, but that's more pressure onto this already hurting LGD team.
And what's been happening now here the last few minutes, instead of Nils and Mithy being able to win that 2v2 lane, Mithy had to recall and obviously help Source on the top side earlier, so he was behind in experience. He wasn't that strong in the 2v2, but instead, because he was there to help Source earlier, he managed to pick up farm and experience, and he's really for it. So they sacrificed the bottom lane for their top laner, and then Acorn trying with this TP to make a big play, take a tower, get some kills onto him. It backfires completely because Nils read the situation and moved back. This guy's 17 years old.
Yeah.
And he reached that so well.
And even though Imp is winning in CS, Origin as a team up 1,200 gold right now. And Peke, a player that was pointed as the most obvious mismatch in skill here, is actually winning his lane
It's
and
a great
has
lane
blood
matchup
against Gad.
I love Orianna into Lulu.
Yeah, and that's good for him, but he's still doing it.
Now the question is, as this game goes on, my concern for Origin is just how squishy they are. I mean, if a good engage comes in from LGD, if Malphite comes in, if the knockups start happening, aren't LGD just going to tear them apart?
They can very easily take down that first target. You highlighted yourself, so instead it's going to be Origin trying to pull the trigger. With Mithy going in with the flash chambers, you're going to have Source in the middle of it, and then of course Peke trying to put the ball on someone. And we're going to get a massive wombo combo of so much magic damage, and then Nils kind of standing a backline being like, hey guys, I'm helping as well. But it's not really going to be about his damage in these fights. If Peke and Source can coordinate it with Mithy, they can also one-shot some squishy members on the side of LGD. So it can go both ways, but it would be some very explosive team fights. We've had a fantastic early game already, going back and forth between the teams. I can't wait for the fights to break out. Come on, guys, do it.
Oh, they're going to be so much fun.
Definitely. One more time with Feeling Freak.
They're going to be so much fun.
There we go. Okay, now I'm believing it.
I love mechanics. I'm going to talk about one more thing. So Peke is very likely, I think, to go a Zhonya's Hourglass second. Every single person not named Niels can dodge a Malphite or Vi ultimate trivially easily.
Yeah.
Vladimir Pool, Repel, Zhonya's Hourglass, Kalista ulti onto the support. The hard engage, like you talk about picking that one guy off, that one guy can only be Niels. He's the only reliable engage, or target for the engage as we move later on into the game once the Zhonya's comes through, and that is honestly a concern. Playing ultimate-based engage compositions are obviously very ulti-based, but those cooldowns are quite long.
Yeah, we're going to have one of these games here for both teams where Flash, I mean, it's in every single game, so of course it always has a lot of value. This one even more, because if you look at Imp here, if he dodges around the shockwave and of course Source going this big wombo combo for Origin, he will never die with a Lulu protecting him as well. Origin will not have any backline threat left. But at the same time, when Malphite flies in, you highlight yourself how people can dodge it with abilities, but then also with the flash. Timbers down the corner.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, they're going to try something, but Mithy and Niels, the ones who take a lot of damage. A turret does go down in favor of Origin, though. They get the mid lane.
Now the summoner teleport from Peke actually working to keep him in the mid lane and keep the pressure up. Amazing, who's been out farming TBQ all game, shows up to knock the turret down. The bot lane is still going to Imp PYL, probably the best bot lane at this tournament. They're doing work, but OG winning the rest of the map.
The adaptation to send Mithy up top and help Source was so key for them getting him ahead. So the two great matchups they had in the solo lanes could really start shining for Origin. They're head in form, they've taken down the turrets. Bottom lane is the only one standing now, so we could see a potential 5-man. There is double teleport. Peke is running it in this game here. Haven't seen it used aggressive yet, but getting that for late game always has a lot of value.
Looks like that turret's finally going to fall to LGD. That'll be their second of the game as well, which should tie them up well in turrets and fairly close to gold, I would imagine, too.
Yeah, but this is still a very close game here. Godby looking for some aggressive plays to make Peke as out of mana, and TBQ's coming. Spots himself on a pink ward and says, you know what, never mind. But Peke, teleport's still down, and is going to hope to get his blue buff.
I mean, he was just powering up to hit that ward as hard as he could. TBQ hates wards, apparently. It's
Just
like,
a
Didn't even
there we
kill
go.
it, man.
He can't even Q it.
Small girl instead takes out the pink ward, so Mythy gets that one. Amazing, starting the dragon.
Oh, this is so fortunate. Imp just recalled for Triforce. They didn't go now, they couldn't contest this. And they sneak through the Triforce of Imp, and they get it easily with Ren.
So good
That
timing.
was crucial.
Very well done by Origin there. Getting that first dragon, and I gotta say, this one already is a lot closer than people were thinking it might be.
Here's the way I always consider teams at World Championships, especially Western versus Eastern teams. We've certainly seen, some very good games from like of KT Rolster and SK Telecom where they deserve to win those games. Individual skill level is not actually that far apart at a World Championship. You're seeing Peke hold up against Godvi, who's like the #3 player at worst in the world. Peke's not even on the list. He's doing just fine. It's how the team plays when the game breaks open. That's where the big differences are. And that's where the players start to shine when they're set up in these really good situations.
I thought we agreed we weren't going to bring up that top 20 list on the cat.
Freak's
That's
own
a
top
dangerous
20 list.
territory, Freak.
Godvi's in my top 3. Next Peke is, in a top 10 all time, but this year it's hard to contest him for that.
So when we look at these two teams as well, though, and you just highlighted how the teams play outside of laning phase, outside of individual skill, it's not really something uncommon that LGD doesn't get super far ahead in the early game. We've seen this multiple times before, where still when it comes to the late game, with the decision making, with the team fights, and of course again the side lanes we keep talking about, how well they use them is what really shines through here for LGD. Origin is a team that in the ULCS always had to do well in the mid game really to take wins. They had to get a lead going, and then they could start playing all 3 lanes, as you see here. Nils up in top side, Pekka sitting in mid, and then Source on bottom lane. So you're farming 3 carries at
Oh, it was
once.
the trap. Imp going in onto Soaz. Now Soaz pools underneath it, pops that Hemo play. Here comes PYL with the shield. Soaz on the run.
One more hit will
Will it
do
be a
it.
kill? He gets him. Imp with the kill. Xpeke coming in, though, getting knocked up after using a shockwave. A little bit too early. Is Xpeke takes a lot of damage, and that's going to be a double kill now for Imp. The wild growth, keeping him alive.
Massive outplays.
An outplay, man. Invading it, and then instantly we see PWL coming down. We saw the roam from Godby. 2 members dying from Origin. They will get a top tower, but down the bottom side, we have 3 guys still pushing for LGD.
Yeah, if they can make it a turret for 2 kills, that's about equal, but this bot lane already under fire, and it's likely to be an uncontested turret take, so definitely advantage LGD, and they're right back in it.
Just talked about how Origin likes to play the 3 lanes when it comes to farming. LGD, they can do exactly the same because they're so good at everyone controlling. How far up can I be? When can I take a one-on-one? And then just the roam coming down. Imp played it perfectly, waited for the rest of the team. Godby even flash forward. Look
Check
here.
out this bait.
PWL
Just recalling.
PWL is coming. Source can't see him. It's completely dark in the jungle, but he thinks he has TP backup. That's why the ward is there as well. So now it comes in, but Godby is also moving, so it's too late. And Source already goes down. The flash shockwave, we're gonna see this multiple times in this game. And suddenly Origin loses 2 guys and a tower.
Well, teleport even canceled by Acorn, too. He's like, nah, you guys got this. I'll handle it.
Yeah, I think there was one also minor mechanical thing by Imp at the very end there. I don't think when he activated W, it popped his Triforce. It was still on cooldown. He actually cast another spell with the attack in the air to get the bonus damage on the auto attack to actually get the kill off on Xpeke.
Wow.
Either way, it was Triforce damage that did kill him. I didn't see exactly what charged it, but certainly good things there. Still some farm coming in for Kalista, but I mean, Imp, 2 kills on a Kog'Maw with a Lulu on your team, that's so hard to deal with.
It is. I mean, Juggermaw is an apt title, I suppose. Even if it's not the classic comp that we know and love, this is still a Kog'Maw that will be nearly unstoppable if it keeps up at this rate.
Only takes 3 more kills to be unstoppable. That's going to be probably not far away.
Literally
from
unstoppable.
Literally, as far as the announcer is concerned, we'll hear it, and it'll be true.
Thinking you're right. Well, they're putting a little bit of pressure into the jungle for LGD right now, trying to drop some wards, get a bit of vision, and it's smart. You know, you need to get some sort of edge, and wards are a great way to do that.
That's going to be a key thing for Origin. Keep pushing the mid lane every time you have the chance. It's so easy for an Orianna, just instant clear the wave, and then it opens up for Amazing and Mythy to start moving into the jungle, get some of the deep vision. The problem is still that Nils on this Kalista, because of the way the early game played out, where Mythy had to leave and sacrificed a lot of experience, he never got to be the lane bully. So now he's 2 kills behind. And Imp is very confident in sitting in that side lane against him. No problem at all. Double teleport from Origin can be a big thing, but we obviously need to wait for Pekka to get his back before we might see another fight in the side lane where suddenly 2 or 3 guys are joining in with globals and 1 guy is roaming down and we get one of these big skirmishes.
Well, it's only about a minute until Dragon comes up again. If there's going to be a fight, it's going to be around that objective.
And no flash from him. Again, look for it. We will keep highlighting it because there's so many abilities from Origin that's going to be so key landing onto him. And if you get the whole combo from Origin, even the Lulu ulti should not be able to save him at this point in the game.
Yeah, they need some sort of CC to keep him safe.
There's going to be a 15-second difference as well between Dragon respawning and Peke's teleport coming up. So choosing to use him as a split pusher, there's a small timing window where LGD can absolutely abuse that. Right now they're using Soaz. He's, of course, very safe out in the side here.
D2G2 clearing a ward, another one dropped immediately by Amazing. They really want to have vision control around this Dragon.
Oh, and actually Acorn doesn't have teleport, but he has to deal with the top lane push from Soaz. His TP advantage, it should give Origin this Dragon.
They have Flash and Mithy as well to start the fight, and Acorn is extremely weak in
There
this
goes
game.
Acorn, he's running.
He's been forced to go for magic resist against, of course, Soaz here, so the damage is barely nothing from Acorn. He's just going to be an engage, and that's about it, and then maybe slow the attack speed of Nils. But I like this fight very early for vision around the Dragon. Even before it spawns, I believe yesterday the average time the Dragon was alive was 29 seconds.
Yeah.
This game here, because both teams are fighting for vision, it might be alive for a little bit longer because the fight should happen first and then Dragon after.
As long as LGD has vision control, though, there's no way you can react to the Malphite ulti in time, though. They're going to start right away. They've got control. Soaz is pushing in the top side, and Origin choosing to contest this instead of getting the push in. Mithy up in the front lines. Dragon already picked up. There's the dive!
Oh! Acorn helps him take out the Dragon. Mithy barely alive. They're going to get Amazing, though. Another kill for him. Shockwave does nothing because there's no follow-up for Origin. That turret in top lane, though, in the base may go down.
Such a big mistake, though, from Origin, even walking in the river near that Dragon. So basically what they decided to say was, we're not going to fight you. You can start the Dragon because we have TP advantage. We will take the top tower, or at least a lot of it, and get extra farm on Vladimir. But then you should never move in the 4 guys, even close, so you are open for this hard engage.
Vampires don't do very well against beings made of metal. Soaz on the run.
And it looks like he's happy to just suck oil out of it, actually playing in the Chinese client where the blood turns brown instead.
That does not taste good, I bet.
He's doing fine, the hard engage!
The Timber's onto Imp, Mithy getting low, but Imp as well. Imp in big trouble, flashing over the wall, they get the kill onto Mithy. PYL goes down to support for support. How in the world is Imp living through this?
Due to PYL and his fantastic position on this Braum here, blocking all the damage from Nils, he sacrifices his own life, stays, or makes sure the Imp stays alive. No extra gold going over to Origin. They pulled the trigger, but PYL saved the day, at least for now.
They can Baron bait. They can Baron bait. Imp has to be in the base, and the guys kill this pretty fast. It's a
They
Blade of
have
Ruin
no
King.
tank with armor that can tank this Baron. We're 22 minutes in, 3 guys is around. It's too much.
With a Spiderling, with Spiderlings and an Orianna Shield and a Vladimir, I feel like you can do enough to if you weren't contested, you could do it, but you're right. You can't.
You would
like,
have
sit
to
there and
rush
take
it
damage.
down, and I think it's too risky at this point for Origin. They are still ahead in goal. We have a lot of action going back and forth. Teams overstaying their welcome a little bit. Origin moving into the Dragon, open up for Acorn to engage. Imp now got flash tables, obviously, for Mithy as well. A lot of small fights going on. Still a big advantage for Soaz up in the top lane. Look at the gold here. But he hasn't been able to do anything with it just yet. He's still scaling up on his Vladimir.
And the thing is, Kog'Maw is actually one of the best champions in the game at killing off Vladimir. Percent health, magic damage. There's no MR on Soaz. Part of the reason Vlad's even tanky is the passive just gives him bonus health. Imp will shred through him in a team fight, especially if a single stun can land. And Imp having all the gold in his team, it's very scary for Origin to deal with.
Not to mention Jurassic Kog'Maw again. No blood.
No blood. It's amazing Soaz even tried to pick this champion. I mean,
it's true.
Well, he didn't know the skin
Counterpick.
before.
I mean, it's just like going into picks and bans. You know they could pick the champion. You know they could pick the skin. Why would you even bother when you know they could pick Jurassic?
It's a lore mismatch, big time.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, well, PYL and TBQ. How many more like 3-letter acronyms can we get in this game, by the way?
I think it's PUL, not PYL.
Pill?
PUL?
You think so?
Is that Danish?
Pulsa?
You just oh, with the slash through it.
Yo, that's what he's supposed to do for Imp, right?
He's done a great job of it, actually. 4 assists on him. He's died for him.
Yeah.
Still 100%. The bot lane is all of LGD right now.
And
That is where it all is.
has done a very good job saying, okay, you're constantly pushing the mid lane. That allows Amazing and Mythic to walk into our jungle. We don't want that to happen anymore. We want to make sure we control our own side of the map. So look at the amount of pink wards defensively placed, so they can always see the invade coming. And they know, okay, Origin has no control in this area here. We can play around. They're trying, though, to deny the vision. They're going to see two of the guys getting one pink ward.
Well, they know exactly what LGD needs to do to sort of keep themselves safe. So, of course, Origin's going to be looking for those wards and getting a couple already.
That's the interesting thing is Origin have the ability to play around the map so much better. Again, double teleport, a big mismatch in the Vlad versus Malphite one, who's still having to stack MR and has no CDR. So Acorn's actual fight power is even lower, his damage so much worse. And Origin just trying to play a split up map. And they're honestly just trying not to have Imp in a fight somewhere. And unfortunately for them, he's already gotten into 4 of them.
Oh, a little blue steal from him coming in, going to be able to get that buff. Double buffs on Kog'Maw, definitely something that every Kog'Maw player wants. A small smattering of applause for the blue steal, I guess.
It's almost annoying for Origin that this top lane is all the way down near the inhibitor turret so early on, because you cannot move all the way down and push it out and farm it. So there's always this lane that LGD can slow push back towards them every time they get it down near where the old tier 2 turret were. And that means Origin always have to send the guys back in towards mid lane, and suddenly Nils and Xpeke are sitting next to each other, sharing farm and experience. It's never ideal when you run triple carries for themselves, so it's a little bit annoying for them. It's great you have the global gold, but I'm sure they would have preferred the bot lane tower to be down at this time instead, and maybe just have it that way.
Well, Soaz trying for that right now, in fact, and again, teleport up, and no one who's able to easily fight him 1v1 aside from Kog'Maw. Maybe you can actually get some pressure done. Origin starting to really play around the top side of the map, but Scuttle Crab's already been taken by LGD, meaning Origin cannot faithfully go for a Baron sneak here.
And we have a very, very big wave being pushed in the top side from LGD. Ooh. It's very easy for Origin to go and grab it, but Source needs to be careful that not 2 or 3 guys suddenly show up. Pekka can join in with teleport. We have to keep that in mind. But for now, continues play pushing for himself. They need to get this wave coming on top side, though, before it gets completely out of control. They just push it back. Nils is going there now.
Yeah.
So he's just going to shove it back in, and then LGD can do exactly the same. And we have this wave that keeps bouncing between each other. Nobody can really kill each other's towers because there's such a long route between the tier 2 and the inhibitor turret.
All right, looks like mid lane's the push, and next package is going to teleport just to make sure he can clear the wave in time. But Imp does so much damage, he has to respect Shockwave, which you saw him stop attacking there, but this turret is only 1 wave away from dying.
Yeah, it's also only 15 seconds.
Oh, here comes Lulu.
Dragon comes up too. Yeah, Lulu coming down to help out. Soaz could be in trouble here. Acorn doing the damage. Soaz pops that pool, pops the emo plague. He's still going to go down anyway. Wild Growth, though, had to be used. That's a crucial out of the way for this Dragon, but a crucial player out of the way for Origin.
Yes, they get the kill. Soaz here with, again, a little misplay. As soon as Pekka uses TP mid, Soaz has to back away. He knows there's the chance of 2 guys coming out to gank him, and the security before was Pekka being able to join. Obviously, he can't do that because he just used it in mid lane, so Soaz had to just back away and not risk dying here, because Origin cannot take a 4-man Baron when Acorn has teleport as well, and there are 3 guys sitting in mid. So LGD right now are using better knowledge around the cooldowns of these globals to get some kills, and now a Dragon more.
Yeah, Imp having no issues at all taking this Dragon by himself, and that's Dragon number 2 now. LGD takes the lead in that objective.
Yeah, I mean, this LGD is showing why they are such a good team. I talked about individual player skill being close in some occasions, but when the map opens up, you really see the mettle of the players and the decisions they're making here. Peke's TP goes down, immediate gank bot lane, nothing taken by Origin. In the meanwhile, the side lane's under control enough that nothing's getting picked up on the backside here. It's very, very strong stuff from LGD.
And simply what happened before here, with this big wave being pushed in the top side and Nils had to go up and clear it and push it back, the mid lane was suddenly open. And that's what forced Pekka to use his teleport to go in and try and defend it. Origin should never have been in that position in the first place because they needed that second summoner to help Source on the bottom side. That was kind of their way of getting the goal lead. Let Source continue to solo farm against Acorn, slowly push down this tower. They might catch TBQ here.
They did catch TBQ. A lot of CC coming down. They force a flash.
Oh, the wall!
Whoops, doesn't go for the wall. Wild Growth used. I don't think it's going to be enough, though. He's going to go down. Niels with a kill there.
TP
teleport
coming
coming from Acorn. Teleport coming in for OG as well. Origin, Soaz joining the mid lane brawl.
Tibbers is still here for Mythi, so Origin can now start the Baron and bait a team fight with Flash Tibbers onto Imp.
There we go. PYL comes in. There's the knock
goes in.
Soaz.
And now here comes the rest of the fight. There's the hard time. They've caught Amazing. He's forced to repel up. Now Mithy in the back lens gets stunned, gets jumped on. He's going to take a little bit of safety from Xpeke. He's trying to run, and actually somehow not going down. The flash forward gets the kill. Shockwave hits only one, and Peke is a member of a 3-death team here. That did not go well for Origin.
He's got to get away. It's incredible that Mithy didn't die sooner than he did.
But LGD, they punish everything you do. So it's a kill onto TPQ at first, but they see Peke sitting in the mid lane. So when Origin is setting up around that Baron, LGD is like, well, your mid laner is not there, so we're just instantly gonna hard engage with the Malphite. And once again, they catch out Origin, they get more kills from it. So we see a lot of good moves from Origin, but LGD just knows how to respond every single time.
He does seem that way.
LGD doing such an amazing job throughout their mid game here. The TP in from Acorn, he found a 2-man knockup, and the follow-up was so incredibly good here.
Look at Peke sitting all the way back at his tier 1 or tier 2 towers. LG's not afraid to just flash. It was Origin who was supposed to take control of this Baron with 5 members to 4, but that's the engaged source, drops instantly. Good ulti as well from Acorn, and now the fight is already won. So they're simply always, shot calling wise it seems, ahead of Origin, and therefore they can keep finding these openings in an otherwise very close game.
Yeah, that fight was PYL, by the way. The flash ulti knocked up Soros before he could react. And then the Braum Q afterwards chained the stuns beautifully. Nothing he could have actually done in that battle whatsoever.
Didn't even get to use his Zhonya's.
Exactly, and that's why he went for the flash ult. The point-blank knockup can't be reacted to in time. That was a really, really big deal. One of those subtle things that make you a better player. And PYL leading the charge here. 7 out of 8 kill participation, really keeping his team alive and setting up the fights as well.
And taking that blue buff for the second time too. I mean, now we really see a shift in where people are in the map this game. Suddenly, everyone pushed over to Origin side.
We have a lot of cooldowns with teleport here. Only Peke as he's ready. They're going for him. He's all alone down the bottom lane.
But he's gonna dodge through the minions
Wow,
to get the shockwave dodge, but there's nothing else to do. Overextended. Imp's been solo pushing so much this game. This is the first time he's ever been punished for it.
Had to happen sometime.
Well, that was still really far up from him. So where we have now been commentating on some of the misplays from Origin where they were on the map, Imp now makes a big mistake for himself. Staying so far up the lane, just all alone. The rest of his team were sitting in mid lane. Nothing they could do to really respond, and they couldn't push a tower either because Origin were ready to defend it.
And it feels like Origin aren't tenacious enough to really take any major advantages. All of the gold and almost all of the kills are on Imp. He's still dead for 15 seconds. But Origin have still yet to pressure an objective. Finally, Peke walks to the bot lane. I guess he's got teleport. He can knock down bottom outer, finally. But to only get an outer turret at 31 minutes for picking off the AD carry, that's less than you should be getting.
I guess it does tie up the turrets a little bit. He's just got to worry about LGD pressuring Baron now. He's still going in the bot lane, though.
He has TP ready.
He does.
Again,
No one's reacting to him. Peke can keep going. He thinks someone's going to defend, but Acorn doesn't have teleport. Acorn is not allowed to be down here. Peke doesn't realize it. This should be another turret kill.
double teleport. He's playing it safe because the rest of his team is back in base, so he doesn't technically know.
He has no wards to see.
Yeah,
That's
if
true.
2 or 3 guys suddenly show up and kill him, but having double teleport in the late game just offers you so much map control. It's way better than having like an offensive summoner in this situation for Peke, because again, he had a free laning phase against the Lulu, and also he now gets the split pushing threat where Malphite, we know a Malphite is a one-trick pony. TP in, ulti someone, and your job is done. And that's what Acorn is going to do again and again, but whenever that is gone, he's not going to do a whole lot. And that's why we can see an opening for Origin to continue split pushing.
Wow, fan vote going to 76% now as far as who they think is going to win this game. And Origin with a tiny little lead right now, perhaps. But I think this one is, I would say, our closest game of Worlds yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be this neck and neck at 33 minutes, absolutely. And honestly, I think many people are surprised that it is this close. LGD stacked with talent. And Origin still making them work for this one. It's going to be close. The double teleport roughly back up now for Origin. We'll see if they can open this map up again.
And while almost nothing can beat a Giacomo in the late game, let's talk about that after, because POL taking some damage. Engage might happen.
Took a bit, not a lot.
yes.
Able to back off. TBQ got cocooned. Took a bit of damage as well, but so far nobody really poked out significantly.
It's a tense point, though. You know there's a battle about to brew. Dragon spawns in 3 seconds here.
Oh, yeah.
Origin cleared mid first. They've gummed down the Dragon first as well.
There's too many wards behind Origin here. There's so many good openings for Acorn to teleport in and just get that perfect flank where it's so difficult to react.
I think he's going to try. Dragon started now by Origin.
LGD are setting up a Baron bait instead. They've actually got all the wards
It's
swept
way
away.
too late, though. It's a
Dragon
very
died
late
so
Baron
fast.
bait for LGD.
But there's no vision. there's a blue trinket up, but he's not in range to use it yet. LGD can play with fog.
They know it though. On the side of Origin.
There it is.
They saw them sit in the mid lane. They reacted very late after Dragon was started. Obviously, teams can take it down so fast. Mythy has flash again.
So Origin have inside track on mid. If they're tenacious, they can go mid tier 2 and force LGD to come into them. They're trying now.
Oh, yeah, look at this.
They're
They're
coming
coming
from
up mid lane. They're going to try to go. It's going to be a pincher maneuver. They're all grouped up. They got to be careful here. They're coming in. Imp is okay. Amazing takes a lot of damage. Soaz trying to get to the back line. He did get hit by Emo Plague. Expect is okay. Big old shockwave. That shockwave does work. Oh, and the wild growth. It keeps him alive. Expect gets a solo kill. That's it.
That was the combo. They got onto him. They got the beautiful shockwave. Everything was used to protect him, but it wasn't enough. We highlighted how much damage Origin will have if they pull off the combo, and they did.
Oh, they caught
They're going for it. Can they land?
They got the stun.
Comes in. Is it going to be Peke's pentakill? Is it going to be no? It's Niels. It is rookie split. Gets the aids and the inhibitors down, and Baron can be next.
Look at the side lanes here, though. Origin has to go back and defend all these turrets. Just send one guy. You can still do Baron, though, with the rest. Let's see here on the side of LGD. There's still 25 seconds on Akon. He just died. Pekka will stop the wave here. That team fight, it wasn't even like Soaz ulti into Shockwave. It was just one by one they came in the end, Pekka pulled through. This is a guy who's been criticized so much this season for being a passive mid laner.
Looking to cause some trouble.
The shockwave buys time to stun steering.
Such a PYL coming in later. Godby uses wild growth. TBQ still alive for the moment anyway. And here comes Imp. The damage coming in. Imp gets a kill. Can they turn it around? Origin chasing Imp. He goes down. TBQ goes down as well. Origin takes the fight. Double kill for Niels. And that is nearly an ace. Only Godby and Acorn surviving.
3 for 2, and Godby's not even done being part of this one. Would you believe it? Origin now soundly in the lead against the #1 team from China.
And I gotta say, it is off of great plays like this. Let's watch it again.
All right, let's see. So first, Cocoon from Amazing. I'm only looking at Imp here. Everything is on him. If you look at Origin, they're focused. They throw in Mythy, knocks him up. That's the wild growth being used. And then it's Shockwave coming in. Such an insane amount of damage. Beautiful chain CC, but again, Doa, you wanted them to throw in Mythy, and they did.
They did it.
And it set up everything for Pekka to get the kills.
Bloodthirsty, man. That's how you play with an Annie. You just toss right in there.
One of the biggest problems there was actually Acorn's teleport. He TP'd in on the other side from his team, so there was no real front line to absorb the CC, to buffer the team back. Origin did not have to respect Malphite because they could run away from Malphite and into the Kog'Maw. The lack of frontline meant so much there, it allowed these guys to catch up to Imp's Cog.
And we're hitting the point here where LGD, yes, they have 2 hard engaged champions. One of them has done absolutely nothing in the Vi pick. For TPQ, he tried to lock up Mythy in that last fight and see if maybe he could delay the tippers. But now, because there are 3 very, very strong carries on the side of Origin, that hard engage becomes so difficult to use properly because all Origin care about is killing him. There's no damage from Malphite, there's no damage from the Vi, there's no damage from the Lulu really because she's shielding onto him. So as long as you wombo combo him, you win the fight.
And that's the thing is, the weird thing is there's so many threats on Origin, so triple threat composition. Peke's the big one, by the way. He's got triple Godby's damage. He's got double anyone else on his team. Peke is the man in this one. All eyes are on him as the weak link, but he is overperforming.
The passive mid laner Origin, they don't play around him in the early game, but they do like to really rely on him in the late game. He's shown it before in this split here, how strong of a team fight he is. And also, can we just highlight that every single time we have a big tournament, Pekka will always show up.
Well, he certainly is today, man. Is that inhibitor turret getting lower and lower? Still 2 cannon minions remaining, and Origin, all they need to do is keep doing what they're doing, and they'll close this one out.
Depends how much more they can do. Baron buff timing out in about 30 seconds here. LG looking for the attempt. TBQ cannot find anything to do. 0, 4, and 1 on this Vi.
Daria
like
of TBQ's life.
Champions away.
He's really not been able to do anything in this game here.
Oh, Acorn caught with that stun.
Yeah, you can't jump on a Malphite. Origin are responsible enough to know it is the Kog'Maw that matters. He is the only damage source. Cinderhold Vi not exactly scary.
Not a whole lot. That turret nearly dead. Just a couple more autos, and Origins going to be gone.
Godby is on 4 items now.
Yeah.
The Void Staff and Deathcat both in. Makes him a threat on the right targets here.
It helps. It does clear waves pretty well, too.
Acorn is coming.
Oh, he is trying to go in. Oh, he misses the up. They get out of it. Acorn has to retreat. Wild Growth already used on the Imp. There's a knock-up onto Amazing.
Yes,
Shockwave coming in. Soaz gets in the back with a big Emo Plague. Meanwhile, LGD, they lose TBQ. And here comes Origin coming in again. Timber's drop. Imp still alive, but it's not going to save the turret. They're going to lose an inhibitor for sure.
And Origin's going to keep on going. LGD needs to buy home guards and heal back up, but there's already 2 inhibitors dead. Origin able to walk away with a clean 1-for-0. 2 inhibs gone.
TP
This is the play.
No
Acorn wants in, but he's got no teammates.
What's he gonna do?
He's trying to stop recalls. Dragon's
guess.
up in 6 seconds.
Recalls for what? That was the most useless teleport.
I think it's literally to try to get Dragon. I think that was literally the only reason why he did this. Origin are now injured on this Dragon attempt, but it's too desperate to try.
I think it's going to die so fast, not going to matter. PYL trying for a Miracle Steal, doesn't get it. Another Dragon goes over to Origin as they back away. Victorious over that big, long skirmish on the bottom side of the map.
So the base is open. 5 Dragons is not going to be a thing. It's 3-2 at the moment. Baron is not alive. But Origin are so strong right here. We saw the engage come in from Acorn, but how easy it was for him to flash it, max range Malphite ulti, and then they can turn around. Godby, at the start of the fight, will just instantly ulti on him. They're like, okay, Imp, they're gonna come for you. Ulti him. Source in this fight, he got a 5-man, a 4-man ulti at least. They have so many threats, and they have so much damage. It's insane.
Origin has played around this hard engage so well. They've minimized the impact of the Vi. They've taken away the impact of the Malphite completely at this point.
So
check this out.
I want to see the teleport here from Acorn. So he comes in from the side instead of running straight at them. So they're ready with the flashes. They're sitting with the finger and ready to use it. And then Soaz comes in the back line. TPQ goes down, and the fight is already won now from Origin. Acorn has to use the teleport there to flank from the side to make it harder for Origin to avoid that engage.
So here we go. 9 turrets picked up, a 7,000 gold lead. And I mean, the curious thing is, for as well as Origin's playing, it's a 3-kill difference. Dragons are only 1 apart, and 7,000 gold at 41 minutes is not the craziest gold lead. This is certainly still comebackable. That's a word from
Comebackable.
LGD. They've got a big Kog'Maw, and if he can outplay the Shockwave and the Annie, he can crush this front line still. You still got to respect LGD's back line.
We saw the amount of gold lead that Origin got with that Baron power play, man. It was like 3,500 gold in the lead, yeah. That's huge.
And that is obviously with the Baron as well as what they got after.
Right.
But you highlight yourself here. Imp is still a massive threat. If Origin has a team fight where they do not manage to land these ultis that are so key for their composition to work, Imp will then take them down 1 by 1 by 1. Again, the tanky members here, we're looking at Amazing basically, and that's nothing even as a Rylai's. That's going to be a few hits for Imp and he's down. And then suddenly he will just chase them down and take them out.
You know,
they do have to be careful, yeah. I mean, like you said, killing Imp basically kills LGD, but if you can't kill him, he could kill your entire team.
Yep, exactly. So it's still very tricky for Origin. There's a lot of pressure on how they can perform in the fight, but so far they have been able to pull it off. Baron is spawning, they're setting up vision in advance. They're gonna try and bait LGD to walk straight into them, and then you get an easy engage. And now,
Shockwave has to be used on him early just for Xpeke to keep himself alive. That's big, and they're going right to Baron. But Soaz going after the base now.
But the Baron is up right now. This is the wrong choice. LGD are gonna lose their base if they go for Baron.
They're going for it. They're going for it.
Stop the recalls. Amazing's there. It's okay if he does. Because Soaz can make up for his mistakes from last Worlds against OMG. And they're going for the base. The base can't get inhibitor. The Malphite's in, but the Nexus is still dying. Kills are already coming through for Origin anyway. And Soaz extinguishes the ghosts of his past. He will slowly but surely get enough damage down. He has to. There's like bear spot for LGD, but it's gonna be enough.
No way.
Soaz says, I can do it better, and Origin beat LGD.
That was insane. Xpeke is like, hey, I'm supposed to be the guy doing that, but this time it's Soaz. Origin takes down one of the contenders to get to the finals and Worlds right away in their first game.
I cannot believe that this happened. China's the reigning champion right now. Edward Gaming won the mid-season invitational. Then LGD one-upped them and became the #1 seed from China. And Origin were a challenger team last split.
With a lot of veterans who had so much experience.
It's true, it's true.
The whole split, the whole season for Origin has been fantastic. You said it yourself, they were a challenger team. They won, of course, the Challenger Series. They came into the LCS. We didn't know really what to expect from them, but they just showed up big time from the start. Great mechanics on these players here, able to execute some of these strong and very hard to play compositions like this one, where you need to really time your ultis correctly. And they pull it off against a team that we keep saying has the most stacked lineup at Worlds with superstars in almost every position. Such a good game from Origin. LGD really made sure they had to work for it because there was so much back and forth in the early game.
It was so close for so long.
Very high level game.
Absolutely.
Very high level game and the best we've had so far.
That was a fantastic game, man. And what a huge, huge game for the crowd here in Paris, too. To see Origin take out a team like LGD. And, man, this group is wide open at this point. Who knows what's going to happen now?
I mean, absolutely. Even TSM was a bit of a threat up against KT Rolster here. All down the line, every one of these teams can do something. LGD, you saw their face a second ago. They are shocked this even happened.
I think we all are.
I know the Twitter vote was like 76% Origin, but if you ask
Twitter's always
any
right.
analyst who should have, like, was not supposed to win this game, but who was favored to win this game, I mean, it's like 99
Oh,
to
yeah.
1.
This is a massive
LGD,
upset
massive
from
upset.
Origin. There were 3 teams people said coming into Worlds would go to the final or be able to win the final. SKT, LGD, and EDG. Now, we just saw Origin take down one of them. It's such a great showing. But overall, man, these team fights and Xpeke with his Orianna showing up when it really matters.
The team fights were spectacular. The way they handled the hard engage for LGD was equally spectacular. A well-deserved win from Origin. Nothing fluke about that. It's a surprise. It's an upset.
Sure.
But it was an extremely well-played game.
Absolutely. And there were so many cool things that happened here. So the split push threats that were here were actually a really, really big deal because even though you had this Kog'Maw get ahead early, one really well-played tower dive by LGD got him 2 kills, then a bad dragon fight by Origin gave 2 more kills to the Kog'Maw, and like no one can stop Imp. It was Soaz getting a lot of split push early on. 2 turrets were killed by that Vladimir quite early on. That gold buffer gave a lot of room for Origin. And they just played the split push very well. Double teleport, sometimes very hard to contend with. They opened up a lot of the map this way.
LGD is going to look at this pick and ban phase and say, did we show our hand too early? Because we saw the amount of counter picks coming in. The Orianna was great into the Lulu, which got moved to the mid lane. You highlighted, Akon could have taken it top side, but they wanted some hard engage all of a sudden. And we had basically good matchups for Origin in every single lane, which also allowed them to run double teleport because you don't need an offensive summon against a Lulu. And that was very key for this team.
Well, you can see here in a second that we will have Soaz and Xpeke up in the interview lounge with Shox. That'll be very soon. I imagine there's going to be quite the crowd uproar when he does finally show up there. But, I mean, thinking about this game, the split push worked very well. The team fights actually, I know last game we talked about having a split push comp versus having a team fighting composition, TSM not wanting to be part of the 5v5. Origin seemed happy to be like, yeah, you've got a big Kog'Maw, but we're happy to come back into you guys and go for the hard engage and try to kill the AD carry.
I think really the key was when they saw the Malphite Vi coming in and they were like, okay, so you have some protection with the Lulu, with the Braum, but now you're running so much hard engage, which cannot really do anything against our triple threat because, again, we will have so much damage. Even if you take out one guy, we might still be able to take the fight. And again, just getting the counter picks with the Vladimir. The way in the lane swap, it looked bad at first for Source because he got denied quite a bit. He was on 0 CS, but then Mythic came up and Mason came up to help him. So they sacrificed the other lanes to make sure Source was farmed enough, and that was key.
It was a really big deal, so a great game by Origin overall, but for now we're going to check in with Shox, who is joined by 2 of the victorious members of Origin.
Thank you so much. Indeed, joined by Origin after LGD got Xpeke by Soaz. I mean, you guys were a pretty popular team coming into this, but this was an incredible game. I got to go to you first because that ending of the game was so incredibly tight, and we all remember what happened versus OMG. Did that ever creep in? I have to bring it up. I have to ask.
Not really. As soon as they started Baron, we had vision on every member of their team, so it was easier for us to actually stop them from basing, and they didn't have Baron buff either, so their base recall was quite high. And we had enormous wave, like bottom. We had like 2 big minions, so I could push really fast. So I was not really paying attention of bases, and I was just asking my teammate if people were basing or not.
People are basing or not. Cool, calm and collected. Is that also the way you experienced it, or?
No, for me, I was like panicking there.
Yeah?
Because we were fighting. We actually won the fight, but I thought we were going to lose it. And I like, okay, if we lose this fight, it's going to be over. But we actually killed him, and he actually backdoored the Nexus. So.
Yeah, he did. Very interesting that you say if we lose this fight, still we can lose, because you had that amazing fight where you got a quadra kill, and after all the Xpeke is the weakest link on OG. Xpeke is an old schooler who might not be showing up. Tell me how you lived this game from the start till the end.
Well, at first I was pretty confident on the lane because the way it started, I knew I couldn't lose the lane because he didn't pressure me enough at first. So I was like, okay, this is going to be a fine lane for me. And then as soon as I got the first block, I knew I would slowly snowball. Like I was going to be strong no matter what. And as soon as I had Thonias, I wouldn't die in fights. But then the TP ball happened. And yeah, it was really lucky for us because after that, we had the game on our side if we didn't do anything. And their Koma was fed. The only one that couldn't get fed got fed, like super good actually. So it made the game a lot harder because we had to give up Drakes, we had to let them take priority wherever they wanted, and it just slowed the game until the fight that I got the ultimate on everyone.
Well, you guys are super experienced players, but it still seems that something like this is always very stressful. Tell me how you lived the preparation coming into this. You guys have lived through so many World Championship, and it's kind of a different deal now. Before it was always, what's this Fnatic gonna do with you two? How far are they gonna get? Now it's kind of different. Now it's, okay, OG is the underdog in this group. How would that change your way coming in here? Playing in Paris must be quite a bump.
Well, for me, I like being the I like being the underdog because there is a lot less pressure compared to Worlds last year. A lot of European fans and others were looking after us, like expecting us to do really well, and we ended up doing really bad. But this year is like people expect us to do third or fourth, so we don't have. I don't feel any pressure. So I think it's good for me and the team in general.
Well, whatever happens, you already beat LGD. Soaz, quelques mots en français pour les fans.
Non, mais merci à tout le monde qui nous supporte et nous suivent jour au jour. Non, en tout cas, merci à tout le monde, franchement, ça fait très plaisir.
Simple thank you to everyone from SOAS. Peke, do you know any French?
No, merci.
Merci, voilà, there we go. Et merci à vous deux. Congratulations, fantastic win by Origin here in their first game of Group D. Analysts, take it away.
Thank you, Shocks. I mean, we had that extra delay to get into the game, but boy, was it worth it. What an incredible showing there by Origin. And I have to say that the three of you have some explaining to do.
For sure.
All right, so let's take a look at the early game.
So the plot armor came down on the Xpeke.
No!
He donned it, went 6-1 and 9 on Orianna, and everybody just lined up. No. They actually played that
let's talk about
well.
Xpeke, because it was someone that we did hit as being the weak link for the team and was a question mark coming in and how he would be able to stack up against Godv. And as you mentioned, he showed up. He stepped it up huge in this game.
Yeah, European mid laners seem to always deliver when they go to international competition. Questions at MSI about Febevin, comes in, solo kills Faker. Xpeke always seems to step up his game around Worlds and around international play, and it just seems to be they hit the grindstone and they come out swinging.
The thing is, Xpeke's champion pool didn't get targeted. He was put in a matchup that he's very comfortable in. He's playing the Orianna, a champion he's been doing well on before, with TP, which is fine in the Lulu matchup.
Well, for whatever reason, they did get rid of the Varus first ban, which is technically in his pool.
We should go back and kind of revisit this pick and ban here because it was quite interesting, especially Origin targeting TBQ. So they came in with that in mind. Now, this put LGD in a situation where they had a choice to first pick the Elise here, and they could have saved Gragas for later in the draft. They made the choice for the Vi. Now, the Vi, I don't really have a problem with because you can shut down the Kalista, the Malphite-Vi combo, and try and win the game that way. The problem was really a lot of these losing lane matchups. And remember that Lulu is definitely a flex pick for LGD. Acorn could have easily played that champion, but they chose to put it in the mid lane with more initiation alongside the Malphite. But that also set up the Vlad pick, which Malphite's not really going to stop a Vlad split push.
Yeah, everybody ended up, like you're talking about losing lanes. They aren't exactly winning or losing lanes there. They end up going even, and then they reach team fights where that's where it really prevailed for me, was you're against a triple threat as a mono threat composition with the Kog'Maw.
But here's the thing.
Wait, you need enough, hold on one second. You need enough engage to kill Kalista and then enough damage after your engage to kill a Vladimir, which you don't have that mixture of with one threat.
Understood, but we saw a lane swap come through anyway.
Yes, yes.
So even choosing worse lanes, we saw the lane swap came through, which Origin ended up playing very well. I know you have thoughts on the way that Amazing specifically.
It's like Amazing played in a way that he didn't show on the map at all. That puts pressure on all the lanes, and there was no play from TBQ at all. He just showed up top lane when they were supposed to commit for the dive on the Vladimir that had no flash. They had to make sure that Elise shows up so Akan could do something. He didn't do anything for 3 minutes, which is horrible.
Yes, and not only that, but it was TBQ repeatedly showing on a tri-brush ward in the top side. So Soaz, he knew exactly how safe he was, and Acorn was not. And maybe this is a problem, one of the problems that you see with having these mixed language rosters, because it just looked like TBQ and Acorn were doing entirely different things in that lane swap, and Acorn wasn't willing to pull the trigger to have a teleport to maybe attempt to dive in the top side, and instead just ended up kind of running around the map or just sitting in Fountain at the beginning of that game. Meanwhile, Soaz was just picking up farm under the turret. So you can say, okay, LGD got the first turret in the top side, but it came at a very dear price in terms of top lane farm.
Now, ultimately, we did see Origin play out that lane swap well, take advantage of TBQ in certain areas, but Imp on the other side of things on that Kog'Maw was doing everything in his power through the mid game to ramp up 4-0 at one point, bringing us all the way up into that 34-minute mark, that crucial 34-minute mark, where we saw a team fight in the mid lane that completely swung things in Origin's favor.
Yeah, and that's the big setup, right? If you're going to play. If you choose to play Juggernaut with no other source of damage, and remember, we used to see the Ku Tigers do this, Lulu mid, Maokai top instead. Sometimes they use Rumble, but it means that the crowd control has to be used perfectly because of that one damage threat. So that's going to be, I think, a big part of this team fight.
Yeah, it has to be on the right person, too, here. Never, under any circumstance, should you be Vi ulting the support of a Kalista. He's trying to stop the ultimate from Annie coming through, but it ends up just getting the Annie thrown in onto Imp, who then gets locked into place perfectly for the shockwave. The setup there, if you had ulted Niels, you lock him out of his Fate's Call, and then you see Acorn actually goes after Niels afterwards, and he's so low HP, if you had actually focused him, you may have stopped that catastrophe from happening to your team, but Origin played the Wombo combo really well.
Yeah, beautiful team fight from Origin, no doubt. And we didn't even see what the setup to that was, which was they were sieging the mid turret, and what LGD was trying to do was set up a pincer attack because they had Acorn TP to that turret. I would not recommend trying to flank with a Juggernaut. Juggernaut is like a cannon. It's a piece of artillery. You set it up, it points in one direction, it doesn't move, you can't turn it very fast. You have to all be together because otherwise it just doesn't work. So without that extra threat there, you're going to find the Kog'Maw in a very vulnerable state. That said, it was played very well, but you have to talk about TBQ here. There were 10 kills in this game. He was 0-6-1. He had a 10% kill contribution rate as a jungler. That is unacceptable.
Right, so that is that weakness that we're looking at for LGD. Now, that does it for Group D. So let's take a look at the standings over there. KT, Rollstar, and Origin are up 1-0, while the LPL's LGD and North America's TSM are still looking for a win. And so I'm going to turn back to you guys for a final word here, which is, given the result of that game, what does this do in terms of the ecosystem of this group and the way it might play out, having seen LGD drop that game?
It's always so hard to jump to conclusions when you're seeing one game, because then you're just inferring so much from it, and it could just be an outlier. I mean, I have bad games, everybody has bad games, and TBQ there and the communication may have just been a small breakdown. They still have ways to recover. They were never completely out of that game until way later on. But I feel like this does put Origin in that top spot where you're just saying, could they be in there as number 2? There's more weighted on it because they definitely came here to play.
I'd say they made more than a good case for themselves coming out of the group in the top 2. Now, coming up next, the international wildcard Bangkok Titans will take to the stage against Season 3 world champions SK Telecom T1. There's more Worlds coming your way when we return.
A little bit too early. Is Expecke takes a lot of damage, and that's going to be double kill now. There we go. PYL comes in. There's the knock-up on Soaz.
And now here comes the rest of the fight. There's the hard time. They've caught amazing.
Expecke is okay. Big old shockwave for that shockwave. Don't work though.
Oh, nice. Good job.
Well, growth already used on the Imp. There's a knock-up onto Amazing. Shockwave coming in. Soaz gets in the back with a big Emo Plague.
And Soaz extinguishes the ghost of his past. He will slowly but surely get enough damage down. He has to. Soaz says, I can do it better. And Origin beat LGD.